And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Your Retirement with Insurance 365. We do this on the third Saturday of every month here on News Talk WJG at 7:30 in the morning here. And as you look at your radio, I'm the very sexy bald guy right in front of the microphone there, just to my left. That is Angela Cradaville with Insurance 365, and then, of course, the proprietor. It is Jay Kenobi with us as well. Good morning, gang. How are you?
Good morning and happy holidays, Jeffrey.
Now, Jay and I, if you remember, if you were tuned in November, we pulled the entire show without, we carried all the water without Angela because, Angela, you were very busy last month, weren't you?
Yeah.
Let's start with that. Tell everybody what Angela was doing.
Yeah. So AEP, annual election period, was going on, and that's where people could select new drug cards and look at the Medicare Advantage plan. It's during October 15th through December 7th, and that's the only time frame that the government allows you to change your drug plans during that time. So it gets extremely busy for us at the office.
December 7th is the deadline. December 7th also the date which will live in infamy. But that means something entirely different to Angela than it does for the rest of us, right? So we thought we'd spend a little time about what she was doing other than the heavy drinking she was doing at night when she got home after dealing with it. No, I'm just kidding here. She is a pro because we were talking about this before we got on the air, what you folks do at Insurance 365, and specifically what Angela does for folks who are in this situation each year. It really sets you guys apart from everybody else, doesn't it?
It does. It's 100% dedication to one person on one insurance product. And most agents are general. You know, they're out there doing a little of this, a little bit of that. Angela is very specific, very personal, very detailed, and that's what makes it special. We started that 7 years ago when we said, look, we're going to have somebody in this office who focuses on this single product. And I think there's a lot of, like, you're crazy, this isn't going to work. When you specifically be a professional at something, you become great.
Yeah.
And not good, and she's great.
Well, yeah, talk about reps, become a specialist, and she is the specialist on this at Insurance 365. So maybe can you kind of throw a blanket over those last several years here, Angela? And have you had an opportunity, maybe you haven't, had an opportunity maybe to back out and look at this from 30,000 feet, from where you started to where you are now, and the education process that your customers have gone through over those years?
Right. So when we started, obviously we started with 0 clients. And so we grew this book, and we are pretty sizable, I would say, for the Medicare book that we have. But we make sure all our customers know exactly what they're buying, how Medicare works, making sure they don't overbuy what they need, get exactly what they are needing. And then during this open enrollment period, again, we give them the opportunity to meet with me and see if they need to make another change for them, because most people don't understand. I hear it all the time. My drug list never changed. Well, even though your drug list didn't change, there's companies constantly changing how they cover your drugs and where you can purchase your drugs. There's quite a difference in price.
So the more important question is what company is handling your drugs, not what drugs you need.
Correct. So we always want to make sure we meet with our clients if they want to, and then we sit down with them and find out the best situation for them, meaning the company and where they want to go for 2023. So we always give our customers opportunity, and I think that's totally different than what most agents do.
Yeah.
Some agents don't ever meet with them. They're out just trying to create new customers that they'll never touch again.
Yeah. Well, I find this with people when it comes to dealing with, really any kind of health insurance. It all seems so complicated. And to a guy like me, it is. Now, to you, no, because you eat, sleep, and drink it year round. But it's so complicated. When people need to make changes, it's like they'll just go sign whatever paper they need just to make it go away. Just I want to make the decision and move on, and maybe even spend $300 or $400 more a month rather than just taking the time to sift through it, take a little look. And I know we've talked about this before. You really need to do this every year.
You do. And one thing I ran across multiple times is people think you can only change your Medicare supplement plan during that open enrollment time as well. And that is completely false. You can reevaluate your supplements at any time of the year, but it's going to be subject to underwriting. So we will have to get into your health history. But
if you do it outside of the window or
outside the window, there is no window for Medicare supplement.
Okay.
The window is only for your Medicare Advantage plans and also for your prescription Part D drug cards.
What have you learned? We talked about this too before we went on the air. The 40 days kind of sounds like Lent. Probably is for her because it is. I mean, and by that I mean she spends most of her days, multiple 12, 13 appointments a day, if you can imagine that. That's quite a pace. But what did you learn this year, especially from just talking to folks?
A lot of times, when you talk to people, a lot of people don't understand how the drug card works with the donut hole. And so I have to stop and, take some time. And so that way they fully understand it.
Did I stop you? What is the donut hole? Because now I'm hungry.
Yeah. So the donut hole is...
It's confusing.
Yeah. It's part of your prescription drug plan. Once you and plus what the insurance company have paid towards your medications, that is, you get into a donut hole. It's $4,460. Once you and what the insurance company contribute towards your drugs, all of a sudden your cost of your drugs rise. Mm-hmm. They call it the gap coverage, the donut hole. They go up. And so most people don't understand that. So we definitely want to walk them through it. So that way they know how to budget and what to expect through January, from the months of January through December.
Gotcha.
So let me get this straight. A person that you'd be talking about the donut hole with would be the person on the most severe and expensive medication. Correct?
Yeah. It's going to be people that have very expensive medications.
And there's medications out there, 10, 20, 80, 100,000 a month. What are some? I've heard some of these up to. Even the drugs that are $500 a month might push you into the donut hole. So the donut hole, if you're on a high frequency of medications, Jeffrey, the donut hole becomes that much more important because now you're paying out of pocket once you meet. So you have the deductible, which is your risk financially. Then you have the donut hole, which is your risk, is what you're saying, Angela.
Right. And then they're supposed to be going away with the donut hole in 2025, and we can't wait.
Yeah.
So that would be awesome if that is going to be true.
Because people would, I assume, get very upset. That's probably not something that's disclosed a lot on the sale of the...
Yeah, it's not an exciting conversation to have with a person, but I also want that person across the desk to understand how it works and when they're going to have a hike in the cost of their prescription, so that way they're not all of a sudden sticker shocked.
So what are some of the most unpleasant conversations you've had?
Wow.
You kind of threw that
great
hook out
question.
there. Yeah, because it's those conversations that probably most people are avoiding and they shouldn't. Is what I'm getting at.
Again, it's not uncomfortable, I wouldn't say. It's the reality of what's going to happen with their with their medical for the year. Mm-hmm. They might not like how it's going to happen, but they also need to understand why it's happening and exactly how it's going to happen, so that way they can prepare for that extra expense for them in the future.
Does drugs change, like if I'm diabetic and I go into January feeling confident that the plan you gave me was suffice, does my insulin go up at any time, or is it kind of locked in for the year when you do this?
It depends. Depends on what insulin you're on. That's a loaded question.
Oh,
yeah.
Because,
okay.
Yeah.
Multi-tiered.
Yeah, it's That's why we like to meet with the clients, so that way they can see it on paper all the way through January, all the way through the whole year of December.
So that's one of the things that you did for your customers is you sent out a letter and just laid everything out. Jay, maybe you can talk about that a little bit here.
Yeah, we make sure and be very proactive. We want to know the medications that you're on, and we want to make sure that you're scheduled for an appointment. Because what the challenge is, you walk in and say, "Hey, can I talk to Angela?" No. And there were many times, we had our secretarial people in our office say, she's booked out for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. You can get it. And they're like, huh? Yeah, she has to take the time with her customer to take that half hour to 45 minutes.
Right.
So you can only have about 13, 14 appointments a day.
Right.
And so you really have to be proactive on our end, Jeffrey, to make sure that the medications are understandable in our hands so we can help them. And then for them to acknowledge you need to schedule a time.
Yeah.
You can't just pop in and, does Angela have a minute? No.
Mm-hmm. No.
And so, and that's just being professional. I
Sure.
think that you don't pop into your dentist and say, hey, you got a minute?
Yeah.
I think I got a cavity.
Right.
So this is a very important financial information. So, I think that has really, she's done that over the years, and that just seems to get better. You kind of train your customers.
Yeah.
And I think that she does a great job with training them and giving them expectations.
But if you're a visual person, though, just to have that letter and have it all laid out for you, what do I need to bring in and what do I need to look at? I mean, that is so helpful. So let's talk about some of the more pleasant conversations you have, too. Because, we've talked about this before, about people come in and discover, first of all, number one, that they're afraid to make changes because they're afraid it's going to hurt them. And then when they find out that, oh, no, actually shopping around is the thing to do, because a lot of times you wind up in a better place.
Right. We will never put a person in a worse situation. We always do what's right for the customer. If they come in and they show me what they have and I can't beat the price, I will let them know you're perfect where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do what's best for the client.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's what we kind of have gone through here over the last 40 days that ended on December the 7th, the annual election period here. What you learned and what Angela learned. Now, Jay, we got an exciting new product that you guys just learned about this week, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when we come back here on the second half of your retirement with Insurance 365, we're going to read all about it. We're going to learn all about it. So stay tuned. We're coming right back on News Talk WJAG. And welcome back to Your Retirement with Insurance 365. We do this the third Saturday of every month here on News Talk WJAG with Angela Cradaville just to my left here, and then Jay, he's across the way. You can find these folks at InsuranceAgency365.com. They're located at 711 South 13th Street, and their phone number is 402-371-3136. They always and love answering your questions. They are there to help because that's what they've built their entire business and their entire culture on. Okay, so we just got done finishing up with Medicare and Medicaid. The open enrollment period ended December the 7th, but you guys get right back at it, Jay, here, and you learned about a new product you want to share a few details on.
Yep. It's always our job to find what the industry's offering. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just constant. There's never a day you sit and wonder if there's something new. There's always something new in the insurance industry. And what it is, Jeffrey, is a lot of actuarial numbers, a lot of what the customers are demanding, what the companies can give financially. So you're always out shopping and looking and shopping and looking. And in the last month or so, I've been doing my research on a product that's been around since 1999, but I'm excited to bring it to this area. It's an A-rated company, been the product itself since 1999, no rate changes ever on it. Mm-hmm. And here's what it does. How many people, Jeffrey, do you think we run across with a net worth between $300,000 and say $4 million?
Probably quite a few.
Yeah. How many of those people, Jeffrey, know they need long-term care but haven't bought it because of premium fears, underwriting questions, their own health situation?
Yeah, quite a few. And probably the older you go, the more you're going to find.
Yeah. Yep. Just and this has always bothered me. You talk to a lot of people and you see trends, just like you do. And I'm sure when you talk to people that advertise on your radio station, you see trends and you have to figure out, how do I fix that trend for everyone to win?
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing we do. So we hear these situations where people are like, I don't know about long-term care. If I buy it and I just die, I lose. Mm-hmm. If I buy it, it costs me $5,000 a year. If I buy it, the company can take a rate increase. Right? You hear those things constantly.
Yeah.
But everybody deep down knows they need it.
Mm-hmm. You're buying peace of mind.
And your net worth is too high to fall on the government.
Mm-hmm.
Your net worth is too high to fall on the government.
Yeah.
And not high enough to just say, I'll self-insure. So how many people do you think that is? I mean, it's the majority of people.
Yeah. And, long-term health care has been a thing the last few years. I mean, wouldn't you say people are paying a little closer attention to it now than they did, say, 10 years ago?
Yes, but there's a real, and this is the insurance industry's fault, we've got a real black eye on it because of rate increases.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the actuarial science was off maybe a little bit.
Yeah, the science was off. Yeah.
Yeah.
The numbers were off, and so there's a black eye. So we're excited that we're offering a product where if you come in and say Jeffrey says I have $50,000,
Okay.
and it can be in whatever avenue you have it in. It can be in qualified money like 401ks, 403bs, simple IRAs. It can be in traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs. It can just be in cash, Jeffrey, in the bank, and you're getting your 1% to 2%.
Okay.
This product allows us to take that value guaranteed times 3.
That value guaranteed times 3. And apply
So
it.
here's $50,000.
Okay.
Now you have $150,000 of long-term care.
All right. There you go.
That's a very high leverage.
Okay.
And if you just pass away, you get your money plus interest back.
So it's just kind of like using your money. I'm saying, Jay, you want to use this for me, and then if I don't use it, like you say, you pass away, and then you can go back and then it's left for the kids, I guess, to still have.
Yeah, or your wife.
It doesn't go away.
But what? Here's the question. You see,
If
you go in a nursing home or assisted living or home health, Jeffrey, what's the first thing you always liquidate? Your cash positions.
Sure.
What are your cash positions getting you right now? 1% to 2%.
Yeah.
And what are your cash positions worth? Dollar for dollar trade. What this does is dollar for 3
Yep.
leverage.
Okay. I understand. There's plenty more questions you'll probably want to ask. He didn't want me to probe too deep, but find out more because we could probably go multi-levels here as well, and this probably isn't the proper format for it because it is really so individualized. So depending on how much you want to put forth, too, and then you have to kind of go into the actuarial science there as well. How much leverage is that going to buy me as far as how long will I be in long-term care if it comes to that?
It is, and I'll tell you one area that just a brief area that some listeners will realize is probably them. There's a lot of people with old whole life policies or cash building policies
Oh, yeah.
that are looking at it saying, I have $100,000 in there of cash and a death benefit of, say, $150,000.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I don't have any long-term care. Well, that cash available product can go times 3.
Okay.
Think about that.
Yeah.
They're not needing life insurance anymore. Their kids are doing fine. Their kids are adults.
Right.
Everything's paid for, and they're going, I bought this policy 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a good purchase at the time.
When my kids
but
were
right
young.
now, what's the point of it? Don't even really have a point of it.
Right.
There's a lot of those out there that should be looking at, can I leverage that same premium without giving anything new
All right. So this
and gain 3 times the amount of leverage?
This comes back to a common theme that we bring up on this show every month about take stock and take an inventory of what you have.
Yeah.
You start going through the file cabinet. What you don't want to do is pass away, and then your kids are left rooting around the home, finding what you have and what you don't have, and probably sold to you by an insurance agent that's either out of business or retired and gone and left. And that's really a sticky situation. So then you end up calling the guy in the cubicle. And, the original Jake.
The original one. Khakis.
Yeah, in khakis. Yeah. Whatever happened to that Jake? But it is you don't want to put your family in that situation. So again, that's what these folks do best. They'll walk you through an inventory of what do you have, and are you utilizing that to the best of its ability with the products that are now available. So like you say, especially those whole life and those cash policies you have sitting around, dig them on out and make an appointment with the folks at Insurance 365, and they would love to go through that with you. And then ask about this new long-term care package here that will allow you to get 3 for 1 on your dollars. They will have more details on that as well. You can find them online at Insurance Agency 365. They're at 711 South 13th here in Norfolk, and always just a phone call away at 402-371-3136. And that is your retirement with Insurance 365 for December 2022. Jay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Merry
Angela,
Christmas.
thank you for, all of your great work over the last 40 days. Okay. And she didn't even turn into an alcoholic that we know of during the time. But you are going to celebrate the holidays, aren't you?
I sure am.
There you go. Absolutely. We'll talk to you guys again next month. And there you go. We will meet you back here again in January. Happy holidays from everybody at Insurance 365.